Hello, hello.
Hello, Otter. So we will now officially pass it over to Otter Sparks, where we'll be launching our next game. So thank you so much, everyone. This is JD Puppy signing out, and I will catch you on the other side in chat, enjoying a lot more of this marathon. Go ahead and take it away, Otter Sparks.
Thanks, JD. Hello, everybody. I am Otter Sparks. I am all hopped up on caffeine and ready to go. We have our Link to the Past run coming up. Hopefully we will get I Am Bread eventually. But for now, we are going to play some Legend of Zelda. So, Kaze, tell us about this game.
So, Link to the Past is one of the best known Zelda games. It has a very big speedrun community, has a huge randomizer community, and just a giant fan base overall. It's been remade. A lot of people don't see it as a remake, but Link Between Worlds is the same game, same world by all rights, just a little bit different. But I personally prefer the original, both for speedrunning as well as for randomizer, because it throws a new twist on it.
Indeed, indeed. And I see we're running with the Japanese text. So why are we using the Japanese text?
So specifically, the version that I use is actually a version 1.0 Japanese cartridge.
Oh, so we're going... Oh yeah, it's even Famicom.
Yep. And right. I actually use this on a Super NT console. So real hardware, real controller, etc., etc. But the reason why, in the 1.0 version, there's actually a few glitches that are usable that are not able to be done in any other version. And a lot of them are huge time saves. So there's going to be a little bit of showing off, but we're going to kind of play it safe, since this is not exactly my most familiar speedrun variant.
Right, you said you were running the 100% most of the time, but you're not running it because...
So the reason why is the unpredictable RNG. Anybody in the chat that knows of 100% for this knows the bane of existence that is the dig game and chess game. So I'll go ahead, I'll start getting into here and getting the input in. Alright, so I am ready when you are, unless you have anything else you want to bring up, any questions, if there's so on and so forth.
No, I think we are good to go. On your count.
Alright, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Alright, let's get this party started. Oh, we do have a donation. DS donates $6.80, saying, "Need numbers to be nice and even."
Thank you so much for the donation.
I, too, am a big fan of even numbers, so thank you for that.
So for decent portions of the run, I am going to be a little quiet here and there. There are a few sections where it'll be for focus, but there are some sections where there really isn't much to talk about. So I'm sure we'll find some things too. But I think the first thing I want to talk about is realizing that when you are starting the game and Link wakes up, there's only one bed in the house that he and his uncle live in.
Oh boy. Okay, well. It's the subtle things.
play it so many times, you start to notice very strange things.
Yes, Ian. Hashtag family friendly.
Oh, jeez. So one of the things about Link to the Past, specifically in the speedrunning side, is there is so much RNG regarding the position of the enemies and such when you're going through. The guard did not like me today. It happens. But, there's so many different ways that the guards can position themselves when you're going through different rooms. So it makes it a lot harder to predict which position you want to be in going into each room, as well as a few
Are the enemies that are in each particular room at least consistent, or and it's just positioning?
The enemies in the rooms are consistent. It's just the positioning as well as the direction they move.
I see.
More specifically, direction. For example, a guard might move east in one run, while they might move west in another. That green guard right there is a good example.
Right. It would have been a lot better had he been moving east, because then you could just like swing in behind him, but...
Or ignore him entirely.
Right.
Depending on the way he moves, he may not even notice Link going by. Or may notice Link and Zelda going by when you're leaving instead.
Right.
And of course, a little bit of safety. So speaking of safeties, any percent is nice in the way that you have a few different options for small safeties if you want them, but you don't need to. You can go bare minimum going through the entire thing. The safeties that I'm going to be doing is going to be mushroom and powder. And we'll see if we do half magic.
What do the mushroom and powder do for you?
So the mushroom is used to get the powder.
Okay.
And the powder can be used on certain enemies to cause them to transform into other things like fairies. Thus, a very, very nice safety to have fairies on demand in certain dungeons.
Yeah.
And then half magic basically cuts down your magic consumption by half. So it allows you to do a little bit more without having to refill. So, section we're about to go in is actually the first dark room in the game. Which, since we have the lamp, won't have to worry about that much, but it does make it a little bit more touchy on the enemy positioning RNG. For example, coming up this side here, we may get a rat, we may not. As we see, it did not cross the path. Same with the next room, we're going to have a bunch of rope snakes, which maybe, of course, there's ways you can go through without seeing a single one, where you can just walk right through, or situations like that where the enemies are literally seeking me out like homing missiles.
Obviously not the
RNG.
Obviously not the ideal situation.
Exactly. In fact, it's actually one of the worst ones I've ever seen. Here's another good example of the rats. This one has the key and may go straight down, may go to the left, may go to the right. So it plays a little bit into the complexity of the speed running itself, by having different paths you can take and hoping for better positioning while you're going through as well. And of course, there is our first chest that we'll experience, and that is actually a full heart that you can or don't need to pick up sometimes. I very much prefer it. Going into the first dungeon without 4 hearts is possible, but very, very mean. And I see chat talking about randomizers.
Yep. They are saying that it's somewhat strange not seeing this game randomized. I personally haven't seen this game played fully through at all myself, so I wouldn't even know what it looks like when it's randomized, but...
Being completely honest, I tend to get into the same regards because I do a lot of randomizer as well, a lot of the Z3 Super Metroid crossover, and a bunch of other stuff. So there are times when I am doing speedrunning and it just feels painful to pass up chests.
Have you played the recent remake of this game on Switch?
Oh, you're talking about Link's Awakening, correct?
Oh, that's Link's Awakening. Okay.
But to answer the question on that,
mixing
yes.
up my games.
And it reminds me every time why I dislike Turtle Rock in that game. There's another good example of RNG. The cannonballs basically have a 50-50 chance of left or right, and you completely have the chance of going through it with them all on the left side, all on the right side, or you can have the dance back and forth like it just did to me. Now, here's one of the first tricks I want to talk about. This room has the chance to spawn, I believe it's 4 skeletons. And of course, I'm going to completely miss with the second pot, and luckily we still only had 2 skeletons total. There's something in the programming that, depending on your routing through that room, it will only spawn a certain 1 or 2 or sometimes 3, depending on the room. I don't know all the coding and logistics of it, but it is a nice time save than doing it vanilla. And very shortly, we're going to get into another time-saving trick, which is going to allow us to skip a large portion of enemies while trying to get the big one. So the next room has a switch under a pot surrounded by anti-fairies. As long as we have the invincibility frame, we can walk right into it and not have to deal with killing everything to make them move away from the pot. And of course, with the bow, we can now go ahead and finish the dungeon. And the sound that we all love, and by love I mean hate. And we'll grab a few extra arrows in that heart there.
I'm sure we'll hear it a fair number of times.
Yes, yes, you will.
Oh my god, that room with the cannonballs, they're everywhere.
And so we're at our first boss, and I am actually going to do a quick kill. Or it's going to be a jerk, and I'm not going to get the quick kill by 1. It's fine. We'll keep moving. It's not a big loss. Yep. By the way, to clarify, for this run, I will not be doing any of the major glitches. Since it was brought up in chat about NMG strats. So we're going to go ahead here and start heading towards getting the book. You're going to see a small glitch here called spin speed, which basically, by flicking my finger across while doing a sword spin to the dash button, it basically puts Link in a glitch state that once I get off of a ladder, it allows me to go really, really, really fast.
Yeah, he's turbo running here.
Mm-hmm. So we have a few moments if there's any donations or anything like that.
Nothing new at the moment. However, for all of those watching, you are watching the first Fastest Furs for Life charity stream, benefiting Children's Miracle Network hospitals across the US and Canada through Extra Life. Please consider making a donation. To do so, you can look under the stream, click the donate button, or type !donate in the chat. All funds will go directly to said hospitals and benefit sick kids.
So next place we are going to go is going to be right along the lines of a normal playthrough, which is going to be desert. Which will get to experience my least favorite boss. Oops. So, the oops there is when you're going, when you're rapid fire tapping A, there's always the chance that before the statue starts moving, you can read it again.
You just gotta make sure you read it carefully the first time, you know.
Exactly. So here's another neat little trick. It's not a big thing, but you don't actually have to bonk the torch as long as Link passes over the section that would have to be bonked. And to clarify it for people that are not familiar with the term bonking, when I am dashing across, if I hit something, that is a bonk. And RNG is nice to me today in the cannonball room. There's always a chance that it's going to fire 2 cannonballs or 1 cannonball early, and then you wouldn't be able to dash all the way up.
Just get whacked in the middle of the room and then get stuck there.
Exactly. Or have to stop your dash and spend a few extra seconds moving that way. And now we have our glove, which means we can pick up big rocks. Now, since this is any percent, we won't be going down to the south to get the heart piece that's there. In fact, we'll be avoiding every single heart piece that there is.
no life for you.
Exactly.
I imagine that you'll wind up refreshing your hearts on occasion with the upgrades, though.
And that'll be every boss. It actually
Every
requires
boss.
you to pick them up.
Okay.
So since we're almost at the boss room, let's go ahead and I'll do a quick talk about why this is my least favorite boss. So Lanmo is the three snakes that come out of the sand. They are heavily inconsistent with their positioning and where they go to. Basically, when they come out of the ground, they pick a location to go to from where they currently went from. And unfortunately, I believe it's 64 different locations. And we're actually running out of arrows, so we're going to go with a little bit of a safer strat at this point.
I can definitely see why this would be not great. They're just bouncing around all over the place.
Yep. So, with right RNG and good timing and good aiming, which I did not have today, any of those, you can usually, at best, do, I think, a 2-phase. 3-phase is best on a normal basis, but 2 is possible. That was more like a 20-phase, but we're not going to talk about that.
Details. Hey, the only difference between 2-phase and 20-phase is an extra 0 floated on the end.
Yes. I also did not want to use up as many arrows as I did. So the next trick we're going to talk about is called fake flippers, and I'm going to have to go up here instead, So I'm going to position myself right along the edge, last pixel, jump into the water, and I'm swimming without flippers. This is one of the tricks that is only in the 1.0 cartridge. Basically, the way it works is you're able to screen transition by jumping off of the ledge, and because you're on the last possible pixel, if you hold right, it actually puts you through the screen transition and ignores the items in your inventory. So it allows you to swim without the item required. There's very few places you can do it, and it's one of the biggest ones. And now we have the Revenge of the Sky Cabbages. Which, yes, they're boulders, but
they definitely look like bunches of broccoli just kind of rolling down the mountain, though.
Mm-hmm. And now we're into the Dark World. So next up is going to be Tower of Hera, which we're going to be able to see another trick, which is the first of 3 bomb jumps in the run. You are a jerk, sir.
Oh boy.
Rock squirrels are the worst. So we're going to go ahead, and there's actually another trick that's going to be used in a few different places that you're going to see in a second too. Dead rocks are such pain. So the trick that I'm showing right now is what is called a poke dash. So as you see, I have my sword out with the charge like I'm going to do a sword spin. Now when something hits the sword, I go ahead and I do a quick dash, and I keep the charge instead of it going away. It's very, very helpful in a few different places, including a boss, which we'll get to a little bit later, once we're in the dark. But this is a trick that can actually be done while moving and such, too. And back to the start. We'll pop over to bombs because that is the next thing that we will need once we get up to the petting zoo. And you'll understand why I call it that when we get there. So we're going to spin here, bonk, and get knocked across, grab the pearl, and continue moving.
Who knew that Link could rocket jump?
So very, very true.
This just furthers my headcanon that Link is actually Doom Guy.
By the way, there was another small trick there. There's actually a 4-pixel section where you can, we're just going to keep bouncing up. So, the trick that I was talking about is actually a 4-pixel section where if you start dashing, you'll be able to go through the... And we're going to have to be really careful, so I'm going to be a little quiet. All right.
So you made use of that, the sword poke there, throughout that as well.
Yep. So, and as chat said, Trolldorm gonna troll. Moldorm is a huge section of time that can be very, very wasted. Because if he knocks you down, you have to go through a good section of the dungeon all over again. So we have all 3 pendants, so let's go get our Master Sword. And for our rando fans in there, yes, I'm doing a blind pet pull. I wonder what it will be. No, it will not be Couch Cash. Alright. And with the Master Sword, we are going to go ahead, go back the route we came. We are going to go ahead and grab the mushroom. Because like I said, it will be a nice safety for right now. And then we are going to go and venture into Aghanim's Tower. might have a little bit of quiet time here.
Well, tell us how. Why did you? What got you into this game specifically? Running this.
So, I've always been a huge fan of the Zelda series. In fact, if I remember correctly, it was actually the second game I ever played. Was the original Zelda on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Metroid was actually the first. And once I started getting used to the game and realizing ways to go about it without dying, I started thinking about how fast I could go through instead, which more and more developed into just playing it normally. And then once I was introduced to randomizers, I decided to revisit the speed aspect of it. When I saw a few people on Twitch that were doing the 100% speedrun. So it's very, very much become a staple for what I do on my channel and such too.
Makes sense.
That is just an amazingly well-crafted and fun game. There's so many neat tricks that you can do in it. There's so many different paths you can take, and everybody has their own way to go about certain things in it. So very shortly we're going to be getting to, you know what? We're not going to deal with Suzuki today. We're just going to do it that way. Remember how I mentioned about guards and direction that they go once you enter a room? That's a good example of one right there, where the guard on the right will go either south or west, and unfortunately decided to go west, which meant I had to deal with him before getting to the guard that helped me. So if chat is willing, we're going to play a little game. Now, as I said, this is Aghanim, and is going to be one of the few things of boss RNG we're going to see in this run. So he takes 6 hits to kill him, which regards down to sending his energy back at him. The first time he attacks, it's always going to be one I can reflect back. After that, it's a 50-50 chance of an attack that will not be reflected back, affectionately called blue balls.
Oh, goodness.
Which he has not done yet. Every single one has been literally perfect RNG right now. So right now it's 4 and 0, which I don't have this type of luck on any of my runs. So all of you are lucky, so thank you.
Good work, chat.
So as of this point, I only need 1 more energy ball, and perfect. It's literally 6-0 blue.
Wow.
Literally perfect RNG for it. So to kind of explain how it works, he does 4 attacks. The first one is guaranteed to be one that you can bounce back. the other 3 are a 50-50 chance one way or another. And it really comes down to, you always want to see 2 or less, because this way it prevents 3-phasing the entire fight. Basically, he won't have a second lightning phase. Now, that being said, it comes down to each different streamer that does the speedrunning, but we always like to have a little bit of a guessing game to see who's closest.
How often does the 3-phase tend to come out?
Very often, in fact. Like, what just happened there is a rarity, to be sure. So, next place we are going to go is going to be Palace of Darkness. Now, and I'm going to call it Pod from here on out because it's the easier way to explain it while I'm going through stuff instead of the 3 words. There is a specific trick called the Hammer Yum in Pod. The creator of it is the one that gave the name. Now, I am not confident enough in my accuracy to get it every time. Depending on how it's looking, we may give it a shot. But for safety's sake, we are probably not going to. And to everybody that was kind of hoping to see it, I do apologize. So for right now, we're going to keep Mirror on because we're going to be jumping in and out of different rooms in this place. Which first one, we're jumping down here and grabbing a small key. Then we're going to mirror back. Grab another bomb. So we have it. We're going to switch to bombs for a moment.
We got a question from chat. Fovalis asks, what is your favorite glitch and trick you'll be doing in the run?
That's actually a really good question. So, if you don't mind, let me think on that for a second, because honestly, I like doing all of them.
No, answer now.
No! Seriously, there's a lot of neat tricks in this. Honestly, I have to probably say if I can pull it off, it's going to be doing the hammer kill on Helmasaur. It's not really a glitch, it's more of a trick, and it's very precise. But it's something I'm proud of that I'm actually able to do sometime. And of course, because of it being, I don't like to do no major glitches for this, we're not going to see a lot of the crazy stuff like Death Mountain Ascent and everything like that. But there's a lot of neat tricks in this game, and a lot of neat glitches in the 1.0 card too.
What would be significantly different about the run that includes major glitches? Like, what constitutes a major glitch in this?
So major glitches include out-of-bounds tricks, which basically means you can go outside the boundaries of the game. Which allows you to wow, let me try that again. screen wrap, go from room to room, skip dungeons entirely. And heck, there's the famous one of where you can literally go to the end of the game from Hyrule Castle at the beginning with the right positioning.
So I imagine that run is very short.
I think there's a world record by doing that of just over 3 minutes.
Yep, that's pretty short.
But there's a lot of different types of runs as well. Certain things are restricted in certain runs. And of course, when it comes to the speedrunning community, there's actually a council that decides when new glitches are found, what they're classified as, what's allowed for certain times. Which that works hand in hand with the randomizer community as well. So we are getting to the boss of Bod, which is Helmasaur. Now, we're going to get to see if I can actually pull it off and show off a little bit after we break the shell off.
Doing the sword poke again there.
Which this is a little bit different. Come on. There's one. Come on. Yeah, we're not going to tempt fate on this any further. We're going to do it normal. But you at least got to see one hammer hit on him.
And he hits like a bus.
Yep. Every single hit, no matter what it is, does 2 hearts of damage. So basically, once you get down to that point, you do not tempt fate. Which overall, right now, even with the little bit of safeties that we're having, this is not a bad run at all. So next thing we're going to be doing is a little bit of rerouting. So in the vanilla game, where we would be going next is actually Swamp Palace. We are going to be going to Swamp Palace near the end of the run, using a few tricks to get past areas. So where we are going to be going next is actually, again, for those familiar with the randomizer terms of it, Type Cave, to get a 300 rupee pack. It's actually a cave in the Dark World that is located directly below where Link's house would be in the Light World. And now here's another neat trick that I'm going to get to show off. So that is what's called an item dash, which, and by the way, we're forgetting about the 300 rupees now.
So how's the item dash work? What's the mechanics behind that?
So by pressing the item button and the dash at the same time, basically enacts the frames at the same time. And allows you to utilize the item without actually having to do the frames. Basically, you're dashing while the item's active. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to visit our friend Stumpy here, and we're going to get a shovel from him, which we will be able to use to get the flute from the grove in the light world. And by picking up the flute on the same tile that the portal is at, we are able to go ahead and avoid having to go through the cutscene. Really? Okay, that's fine. We'll just do it normal.
The game said no.
The game said no, and I'm fine with this. And of course, we are going to go ahead here. We'll use the flute at the statue, and we will get our fast travel in Light World. Now, we're going to do a little bit of routing here to get 2 different items. One of them, we're going to go ahead and get the powder, like I talked about before. So, we're going to go ahead, load the flute, and we're going to go to 2 on the map, which is the Witch's Hut. And we will leave the screen, we will come back, go into the house, and there is our magic powder, which means that we will be able to go ahead and create fairies from here on out, from the anti-fairies, which are the little red things that spin around and steal your magic. The other thing we're going to do now, since there's... Of course there was. We're going to go ahead and get the ice rod now so we don't have to later. The ice rod, for any run, it's needed for Turtle Rock, but it's one of those things where there's not really a good place to fit it into the run, because it's so out of the way. So we're going to pop there, and we're going to go back to 3, and we are going to go to the Dark World. And interestingly enough, since we were talking about item dash before, there's actually a few items that you can use it with. For example, you can do it with hammer, you can do it with the blue cane, which allows you to dash without using magic from blue cane while still maintaining invulnerability.
Lots of screen transitions here.
Mm-hmm. And of course, because we only need the essential items to get through here, that's the only chest in the lower section that we'll need to do. And of course, lots of dashing too. Actually, I had to think that for a second. And that's what I mean by anti-fairy.
Mm.
So what we're going to do here is hit that and go downstairs and go and open up our skylight for blind. Now that that's open, we'll be able to take our disguised friend that we will see in just a moment and show their true form. Now, when it comes to safeties, one thing that people usually do is they'll go ahead, they'll grab a bottle in the net so they can save fairies for a quick res. I personally do not, because it's more out of the way. It's just nice to have the powder in case you need it, and to be honest, you usually need it. So here is our damsel in distress that we are rescuing. But before we go upstairs and rescue them, we're going to go ahead and get the treasure here, which is our upgraded mitts. And sure.
Oh well. At least it doesn't send you too far back.
Yeah, but that's the proper reaction when that happens.
Well, okay then.
However, we do have the advantage here of a single heart there. And now we're going to go ahead and introduce her to the light. Now, the way that blind works is 3 hits will cause them to change, well, get a new head. Which will then bounce around the room for a while. Now, the difference between a lot of the other bosses in Blind is no matter what type of sword you use on Blind, you always have to hit him 3 times for each head. There's no exceptions. Now, next, since we are done this dungeon, we are actually going to go ahead and upgrade our sword next. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down south here, take a path over here, and visit our friend Glenn the Frog, who seems very out of place.
Glenn seems a bit shocked here.
So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead into the blacksmith house. We're going to drop them off. We're then going to leave. We're going to come back again. We're going to have a chat with them and spend 10 rupees for them to temper the Master Sword. Which means right now I don't have a sword. So what do we do while we don't have a sword? Well, there's a pit to the right side. Let's go see what's there. And again, this is another one of the safeties, where we're going to go ahead, put some powder in the bowl of blood, where we get a
God.
little demon bat. Yep. Where we get a little demon bat who's going to punish us by having our magic.
So we just lost our sword. We lost half our magic. We're in the rough here now.
So here's the interesting thing, because there's some weird translations, and that's why that does half like that. And specifically, the way that the bat words it is that you've lost half of your magic. What it actually does is it cuts your magic consumption down by half.
So that would actually be beneficial.
Yes, it is an extremely beneficial thing. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to go up here, pick a rock, and head back into the Dark World. And we're going to go to Skull Woods. Now, Skull Woods is where we're going to see one of the more jerk-ish bosses, but only because of the room he's in. And we're also going to see our second bomb jump here, too.
I like this floating hand we have coming down.
Oh, our friends the Wall Masters. So if that hand grabs you, it'll take you back to the beginning of where you came in. And it
That
will
is
also
very rude.
It will also reset all of the rooms that you've messed with. So
Incredibly rude.
exactly. So as I said, we're going to see our second bomb jump here, which I'm going to go ahead, position, put the bomb down, spin, bonk off the wall, and across. We'll grab the fire rod here, which means we now have fire and ice, and we're just going to leave and skip everything else in that dungeon. And bonk. So while transitioning from here over to the other section of the dungeon, we're going to stop here and grab a key, which is going to be helpful and needed. And by putting fire to the nose of the dungeon, it allows us in, and we're going to be able to do the next area. Which for this room, we need to go ahead and get 3 torches. Normally, if we needed a safety fairy, we could actually utilize one there. But we're just going to grab that there. We still have half of our magic going into Mahula, which will make this, hopefully, pretty easy. Which, that was very easy.
Nice.
So, now note how I did say that specifically this boss can be a bit of a pain. If you hit him and he bumps into any of the spikes, he only takes damage from the spikes and not your weapon. So, if you can hit him without him spiking, you can pretty much kill him in 3 hits. If he keeps bouncing into spikes, it takes a lot longer.
Is there any good way of like getting around him and like knocking him towards the center of the room?
A little bit of RNG. His movement is pretty erratic. Now, I'm going to have to do something a little bit different here because I actually forgot something along my pathing. We're going to go ahead and we're actually going to flute back to 3. And we need to go to a house on the right side and get a few extra rupees. Because we need to go buy the flippers. And Zora's greedy and wants 500 rupees for them.
Legend of Zelda's version of Moneybags.
Pretty much. So this is affectionately called the Sea House. I wonder why.
It's a very weird design for a house.
Yep. Or you can just leave me, Duck. Okay. Thank you. Alright, so I see in chat, you're saying he takes no damage from spikes? Like I said, it still draws out the fight a lot longer because reasons. But thank you. I actually didn't remember if it did or if it was bare minimum. Alright, so first thing we're going to grab here is the Quake Medallion from our Catfish friend. And then we're going to mirror. And head up to our fishy friend. Our other fishy friend.
Link has many aquatic friends.
Interestingly enough, if you get a fish that's stuck out of the water, and you throw them back into the water, they will become your friend and they'll give you an item. So yes,
Oh, well, that's nice.
that statement is actually very true.
Does he have any land-based friends, or does he only have aquatic friends?
Well, he has Zelda and his uncle.
That don't count.
Then again, in translation and such, when you find your uncle in the sewers, he specifically says Zelda is your, and says nothing past that.
Okay. He's just gonna leave that one hanging, let you leave you in suspense there.
Exactly. So everybody has had their own jokes and memes and theories based on that. Alright, so next up is going to be Ice Palace, which we are going to see the most well-known trick in the entirety of Link to the Past, which is the Ice Palace bomb jump. We're a little bit away from right now, but that's fine. You know, I'd have to say I think that actually would be my favorite trick because it's so necessary. It was close enough. Alright, and there's the key that we need. Alright, so this is the Ice Palace bomb jump. So let's see if I can get it on the first try for once. And that's a no.
F's in chat for for missed bomb jump.
Second try though, that's fine with me. So basically, the way it works is you need to back up, and there's a few different ways people do it, but basically, backing up to the point where you are right on the last pixel there, which ends up, then you put the bomb down, and then travel down, I believe it's 3 or 4 pixels, I can't remember the number. I'm just used to, a lot of people use different things, whether it be a sword position, or where the shadow of Link is, comparison to the section above or below. But anyway, we're going to go ahead, we're going to continue and skip the entirety of needing to get the big key in this place because of the Ice Palace bomb jump. So moving right along with no complaints.
That's handy.
Now, this is one of the harder bosses, especially with having to do it with green mail. This is Cold Stare. So the way Cold Stare works is you need 8 hits with the fire rod to break the class. And we're going to do it the easy way because I am not dealing with dying here, which is literally kill it with fire. And that's Ice Palace. And we are already well into our run. So after we do this, the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to go back up to Death Mountain. Yep, it's a huge loss. But we're going to go up to Death Mountain and get our ether, and then we are going to go to Misery Mire, which a lot of people do not like. It's actually one of my favorite dungeons, to be fair. Except when you're fighting the boss and he lightning snipes the far right side. So we're going to go ahead back up here again and do the same thing again. Now, normally in Hundo, we'd also be getting the Blue King here in the Spike Cave, but we're not going to do that. I know, Mire's not bad once you get the routing down. And away we go. You are very correct with that, Brash. I kind of got the feeling of it. So we're going to do this the slow way because Wizrobes are jerks. So we're gonna have a little bit of quiet time here while we're going through if there's any donations that have come in, anything like that.
We do not have any new donations at this time.
The late night.
We are, yep, we are in the witching hour.
Yes, we are. We are in the why did I not sleep hour.
The caffeine will get me through. Yeah, Senadrill, we should tell that we should tell Savage when we see him that Wizrobes are jerks.
Coffee tea is amazing, and I wish I would have had some before this.
I was able to snag some before we started here, so I am I'm good to go for a little bit anyway.
And you are lucky. I would be super happy to have my own right now. And down we go. So normally, the way the game is set up is by this point you already have hookshot and a few other things, which ends up making it a lot easier than doing everything with dashes and bonks.
Who
That
needs
being
to
said,
do
no, I completely agree. Who needs it?
that?
As we'll find out in a second. So normally you'd hookshot over to the block, but as you can see, you don't. And there is our red cane. And we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of damage there, but that's fine. We're going to have a few fairies shortly. And that is one of the few bonks that I will do every time because it's easier than going through the rest of it. Now, it's interesting that chat mentioned about the fast strategy for Vinny, which Vitreous is the next boss that we're going to be encountering. Once we get there, you'll be able to see one of the fast ways that people do it. And there's a few different ways. It's a complex fight overall, but only to appearance more than anything else, in my opinion. Apologies, I have a little bit of a sniffle. Alright, so we're going to be going in with full hearts. Now, the way I do it is... that way.
like how you just run straight into the middle of them and just take advantage of those iframes to just smack them all at the same time.
Exactly. And there's our quick kill. Not the fastest, but I also did not want to deal with having a snipe lightning again. The last run I did, far right side, right below where the damage from the slime does, and one of the lightning strikes actually hit. Absolute worst RNG. More specifically, because I only had one heart left. Yeah, Vidi is a huge time loss. I'm not sure exactly how long, but I can tell you this much, my split right now is 4 minutes ahead from my last run because of it. I can do it right there. And we're going to go ahead back up to 1, and it's Turtle Rock time. It is not Turtle Rock time because I need to go to Swamp because I am dumb. You may all judge me in chat for that one. I will 100% blame sleep for that. Also, here is another very rarely used trick in speedruns. Block deletion. So the way that it works is, in version 1, if you have the mirror, you can't use the mirror in certain dungeon area or non-dungeon areas, like these, because there's no way for it to teleport you back to the beginning. So if you try using the mirror while you're pushing a block or such, you'll be able to delete the block. It'll just disappear from existence.
It's handy.
It's really great in rando and certain spots like that. It's the only place in Hundo, or I'm sorry, in any percent that it's useful though, is right there. In Hundo, it's useful in the second area too, which is Checkerboard Cave. And we're gonna take the mirror off so I don't accidentally teleport myself to the beginning. So, any questions from chat? Any questions from you, actually?
Well, I don't know about right now, but I might come up with some in a few minutes. But, actually, I have a question. Because I'm not familiar with the randomizer for this game, so what all does it and does it not randomize?
So the way that it works, and it actually has an established logic for the simple purpose of not trapping items where you can't get them. Now, what it does is there's a few different types in the randomizer. There's where it will just randomize items, which it'll mix up from different areas. And this means dungeons, outer world, dark world, light world, etc. There's also what's called an enemizer, which will also mix up the enemies. And there's also an entrance randomizer as well, which should be self-explanatory.
Right.
That being said, There's also variations where you can have the bosses mixed up, where you can only have certain rooms in the entrance list, you can only have certain items. And as Velis in chat just said, key sanity, which also incorporates all of the keys from the dungeons into the randomized mix, so you can find keys elsewhere instead of just in the dungeons.
Find the key for the ice dungeon there, and like where we are now, for instance.
Mm-hmm. This includes the big keys as well as maps and compasses too. Oh, and Vela actually brought up a really good thing there too. There's also what's called a multi-world for the randomizer. Basically, imagine all of the items split upon a few different worlds that you have multiple people playing.
So it's like a co-op version of the experience. Oh, that's neat.
The problem is sometimes you are relying on other people to find items that you're missing. So you have the potential of having to sit there for a little bit while somebody's going, have you found my fire rod yet? Alright, so we're actually proceeding pretty quickly to our next boss, which is Argus. And once we get through phase 1, I am actually going to attempt the quick kill. So we'll see if we have a little bit of luck today. Up there, and away we go.
It looks like you're pulling like popcorn off of this thing.
Nope, didn't get it. Oh well. So normally what you can do is position him right, get 2 quick fire rod hits into him, and a spin, and he will never pop up.
Oh, we got a question from chat from Brash. Hey Kaze, what's your favorite 1.0 trick? Mine is item dashing.
Oh right, I did answer that earlier. Okay. I actually would have to say it's a mix between. So when it comes to favorite to do, both item dashing and fake flippers are pretty equal in my opinion. That being said, when it comes to the most important in my opinion, it isn't really a 1.0, so. But Ice Palace Bomb Jump. It's easily the most important glitch that there is in this game. Of course. Really?
The game says eat your vegetables.
Sky cabbages. Always has to be sky cabbages.
Cursed sky cabbages. The worst kind of weather.
Please don't. The worst enemy in the game. Always extra rocks when on base. Yep.
No being on pace for you, says the game.
I do not think there is actually an active command for exclamation point runner. So we're going to go ahead and spend a little bit of time in what most people admit is their most hated dungeon, Turtle Rock. Now, because I do not have the safety items or anything, I'm going to actually have to rely on hookshot to prevent some damage in a few places. Nope. Yeah, that was... I knew that was going to happen.
How far is it gonna set you back?
It actually shouldn't set me back at all, now that I think about it. It'll put me back at the entrance, but that also means I don't have to reroute through that room. So it'll be
Well,
a
that's
few
a plus.
seconds, but that's probably the best point I could have had a death. And this is what almost everybody agrees is the worst room in this place. And there it is. Yep. Especially with green mail, because they just hit like
Oh man, yeah, that wrecked you real fast.
Yep.
Just bounce you back and forth between them, and
It'll be fine this time. I'll take it a little bit more carefully. Really? That's absolutely rude. Worst part is even taking it carefully didn't really help me that time. No, it is a miserable, miserable room. It's easily my least favorite room in the entire game, even over Gauntlet in Ganon's Tower.
I like how that jellyfish just kind of floated over you while you're on the moving platform. That's pretty rude in itself.
There we go. We'll grab our key. Let's get out of here, and
Nice.
we'll not concern ourselves with it. But the nice thing is, at this point, I will be able to utilize a few anti-fairies as a little bit of a safety and not have to worry about that happening. So we'll have to do a little kindly.
Lumetric asks how the run's been going so far.
This is actually... I'm actually on pace for a PB right now. Like I said, I primarily do Hundo, so go ahead and we'll be a bunny for a little bit.
Never a bad time to be a bunny.
Exactly. Let's get some love for all the bunnies in chat. This is fine. Alright. And for ease of run, we are going to go ahead and grab the mirror shield, since it only adds a few seconds, like 3 at most. Now, that being said, it does actually add extra lag frames, but it's almost insignificant. And we're going. The worst part is, Turtle Rock, the easiest part of it for me is the boss. Now, once we get down here, we're going to go ahead, we're going to dash down the bridge, and we are not going to do the safety exit here. Instead, what we are going to do is grab that and go. Actually feeling pretty confident right now.
Just start playing Final Countdown.
I'm not pleased with taking damage before this phase, actually. There we go. And of course, this is the only boss in the game that the heart just appears in the middle instead of on the boss.
For some reason.
Well, it's because the boss moves around the room so much, so it's potential that the head could be located outside of the boundaries.
So it's insurance against you not being able to pick it up.
Completely. Actually, as a sort of secondary answer to when it was asked about my favorite 1.0 glitch, jokingly, I was about to say Swagnet, and I want to see if anybody realizes what I'm talking about before I explain it. Which I don't think I got anybody in chat that either didn't hear what I said or
Or they have no idea.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what we're talking about, so I'm
so-
curious now.
Okay, so I'll explain Swagnet. So it is actually a variation of Item Dash, but it uses the net instead.
Uses the net to increase your swag stat.
More specifically, so Aghanim you can actually block or deflect the energy balls with the net. So what you can do is actually Item Dash with the net and bounce them back.
Just
it's
a
just
big old shove.
It's absolutely the most ridiculous thing. And it's basically just considered a show-off tactic. But it's also one of the best show-off tactics, in my opinion. But unfortunately, with any percent, we don't really get the net, so we're not going to be able to see something like that. I am not going to appreciate having to fight Ice Armos without silvers. There we go. Which, speaking of which, I need arrows.
Incidentally, let's take this opportunity to talk about upcoming bid wars. We got Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D. We got a name war. Vote on your names with donations. Same with Morrowind. You can name the character. Sonic CD. You can vote for either the Japanese or North American soundtrack. And for FF4 Free Enterprise, you can do Zeromus Sprite, or Deltarune or Sonic series. You can vote for the Twin Harp song, Zelda or Sonic, and you can vote for naming the character. And for Zelda Twilight Princess, we have a bid war for Link's name and Epona's name. Oh, is Ocarina of Time 3D already done? I feel like we should delete this from the thing if that is the case. Yep, Morrowind and Ocarina of Time are already done, so forget those. We need to delete these from the list. But all the other ones are still upcoming.
Keep on moving. Also, those two rooms alone are the main reason why I absolutely love getting Mirror Shield, no matter what run it is. And now, remember how I mentioned about the gauntlet? This is the gauntlet. Which it is exactly what you would assume it is. in Safety Ferry, and we're going to get our revenge on Lanmo right now. Specifically because we have Fire Rod, and it only takes 2 hits. Okay, we're just going to keep moving right along. So, we still have 2 keys, so we don't even need to worry about this room at all. So, I've always considered that this section of the game is where we get revenge for literally everything that the first 3 bosses did to us. Even our friend Moldorm here. As we run away.
He's right on your tail for
Yep.
that.
Time to run. Oh, another neat little trick that kind of works with the lock clipping. You can do the same thing with hookshot and skip that entire spot there.
Just hook the chest all the way through the wall and just...
Yep. As well as the blocks right after, too.
Wow.
Alright, so we are back to Agate again. So this time we have 3 of them, which actually can make this potentially easier than it was before. Ah, almost the triple. That is a very good question. I have been practicing hovering. I cannot do it yet. There we go.
Alrighty.
So at this point, we are going to be going and visiting Ganon. Now, specifically, because I don't go to get the gold sword and silver arrows, this will be what is called the silverless strat. No, you don't! Alright. We have phased.
I've seen too many Dorkly skits at this point to see this particular iteration of Ganon as intimidating, but...
No, I completely agree. Alright, so we are in phase 3 right now, where he's going to blink across the room until we are able to stay in the dark with him. So we're actually going to ignore that one and then come over here, and this is a super important trick right now, what I just did. So no matter what happens, the right torch will not go out. Only the left one will, and I'll only have to relight that one. Now, specifically, this is what is called a silverless kill on Gam. Basically, by hitting him with the spin while he is moving like that, I'm actually doing damage to him instead of the way it's supposed to be, where you hit him, he freezes, and you hit him with the... 1 pixel. 1 pixel too close to the fire. Which is fine. We're just going to jump back down and hit him again. It was absolutely just horrible, horrible positioning on my part. That should be enough. Yes, good. So as you notice, I'm using the hook shot there. During hook shot, it's actually an invulnerability frame. So you're able to enact it and not have to worry about the fire bats. Notice how he's blue right now? Kind of what I was trying to explain for a moment there. Basically, that is normally when you would hit him with the silver arrows.
I see.
However, we're going to do it this way, which is because we did not get silver arrows. And I did actually lose count this time. I think too much. Nope. I think I'm off by 1. Yep, I was off by 1.
All right.
And we have bacon.
Delicious, delicious bacon.
And time.
All right, good work. 15 minutes under. Wow. Is that a PB?
That is a PB by 4 minutes and 56 seconds for me.
Oh, substantial PB too.
I'm slowly working on getting better at the 90% of it, but like I said, I'm much more familiar with the 100 route, as well as I just honestly like doing it more.
Fair, fair.
90%'s a lot more challenging in my opinion, but there's so many different routes and such. Yeah, I mean, that was a really good run. By the way, thank you for everybody for the GGs in chat. Woo! Go ahead, Otter. Sorry.
Oh, I'm just putting GGs in chat of my own. All right, but that was a fantastic run, Kaze. Yeah, personal best. Thank you so much for showing us that game. I have I've never seen it before myself, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm really glad you enjoyed it. And I hope everybody in chat enjoyed the run too.